I'm making these videos because I'm a beginner. You're a beginner. You're watching these videos because you're looking for help. I'm going to try to give you some tips based on some of the things I've learned being a beginner. I'm going to let you watch me work. I make mistakes. I screw up. I've destroyed more pieces and started over than I can count. I've been doing this for about 3 years now, and I'm still a beginner. I don't have a potter's wheel. You probably don't have a potter's wheel. They run between $500 and $1,000, and it's not really easy for you to get. All right, so I'm going to show you how to make your pots, make your items without using a potter's wheel. It's called hand building, and some of it is pinch pot, other is slab building, and I'm going to show you how to make dinner plates and cups. All right, and we'll make a bowl or two. Okay, so let's have some fun, okay? All right, we're going to start with a ball of clay. First, we're going to squeeze it. We're pushing the outer clay in and squeezing it all the way through to the center as we roll it in our hands to get even pressure. The purpose of this is to cause the clay to begin to bond with itself on a molecular level. All right, the second part, once we feel we've gotten enough of this, the second part is to pat it. This applies a little more impact and drives the molecules, the crystals in the clay together. What we're trying to do is make the clay itself as strong as we can before we begin making our pot. In large amounts of clay, this is called wedging and is done in a different way because you use both hands and you press it down into the board. Okay? Now we keep doing this. Remember, slow and easy. Now, when you start doing your pinch pot, your tendency is to drive both thumbs down in and make a big hole. We're not going to do that. All right. When you get a lot more experience, you can do that if you're comfortable with it. But I suggest that to start, we're going to make a very small depression. We're pressing down and out, down and out, down and out, down and out. And you can see it is already making a pot. Okay? This is the beginning. You keep pressing in from the sides as well as you turn the wheel. And then down and out. The clay will want you to go faster, but you want to resist that temptation. Now, for the bottom, I want 1/4 inch of a foot, about that much, at least. And I want 1/4 inch of a bottom, so that's a 1/2 inch. So I prefer to leave about 3/4 of an inch, so I have room to flatten the foot and end up with a good solid bottom as well as a good solid foot. We're looking for uniformity. We want the pot to be equally strong in all directions. We're going to continue pulling up from the bottom, raising those sides. Greatest mistake any beginner makes in pottery, especially with pinch pots, is to rush, to try to finish the pot as quickly as possible, because the clay is so giving that it wants to be formed. And you're very tempted to hurry and squeeze it out and get it into the form you want. And what you're doing then is you're sculpting, but you're not really making a strong clay pot. Again, we're pulling up from the bottom. Our wall's upending about 1/4 of an inch thick. We keep it thick for now, all right, because we don't want to get it too thin. You don't want to come back and try to add clay in. You want to keep the pressure uniform and keep the thickness of the wall Notice I press in with my fingers this part as I pull up, and press in with my thumb, but not too much, a little at a time. During this, I can feel the thickness. Our fingers are very, very sensitive to things like thickness. All right, so we can compress a little bit more in certain areas where we feel a lumpy thickness. I look outside. This is a piece that's now leather hard. I scored the sides of it. This is going to be a drinking glass for hot liquids. It's not really a tea bowl. It's a little too tall for a tea bowl. All right. As you can see, I have my logo imprinted in the center. And what I'm going to do now is begin to very lightly carve out the interior of this. I'm going to take a look at this now. As you can see, I've scraped away a lot of the inside. I'm going to go back in and do a little bit more. I want to make sure that this is level, and I think it's leaning just a little. So I'm going to clear up some of this. Of water. I'm going to use my sponge, squeeze it out. I'm holding it cupped in my hand, and I'm pressing and squeezing the interior where my hand is. I don't want to squeeze out here. I want to squeeze where there's support for the clay wall. Now this is not getting rid of everything, it's just smoothing down the sharp edges. It'll make a much more aesthetic look to the glaze that's going to be on the interior of the cup.